Me, this is still like unbelievable because I've never seen it. And there's even a guy in the comments who said he's been doing this for 40 years and I've never seen anything like it. Just ask yourself, could manufacturers actually focus on and make cheap, reliable vehicles? Yeah, they could. But the other question is, would that be a good business model?
The car industry used to be ran by car people, and now it no longer is. It's being ran by people in suits.
To me, it's just not text that's getting burned out. It's service advisors as well. And the comments are crazy on this one. Welcome back to Apex Tech Nations podcast. This is episode 11. And man, it's just talking to Craig. It's been flying by. And we got 3 stories we're going to cover today. One is kind of mind blowing. I've never seen it before. And we'll find out if Craig's seen it before. Where a brake pad, guy went and got brakes done at a dealership, front and rear, and the pad actually fell out onto the wheel. We'll dive into that first, but then we have customers out there, drivers asking what is really going on with reliability. So we're going to touch base on some reliability issues with some of the new vehicles. And honestly, I got some points I want to bring up that a lot of people don't think about. It's not even reliability related. And then there's a service advisor out there asking, where's the limit? How many people's actually just walked out, been done? I've seen a lot lately, honestly, but the comments in here are kind of crazy. And if you worked in a dealership, you can probably relate to the majority of them. So we're going to go through those 3, and we're going to start with the brake pad story. So remember, the links are in the description. I almost wanted to share the photos, but I don't want to be flagged. I don't know if they'll flag us or not, but basically the guy is holding a photo of the brake pad in his hand. And then he shows photo of the damage on the rim and the brake pad laying on the rim. And to me, he don't have big enough wheels to where the caliper could have came all the way off, and the brake pad fell out. So at first, when me and Craig was talking about this one, I thought he might have been trolling, but Craig brought up a good point. There is damage on the rim. It looks like it really fell out. So we're going to dive into that one. This guy's got a 2014 GMC Acadia Denali. Now, technicians, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments on this if you've ever seen anything like it. But he says, I took my car to Bucky's Automotive yesterday to get a full brake replacement on both axles. Everything was running smoothly until the day when I was arriving home. He doesn't really say how long. Well, he said yesterday, how many miles or anything like that. But he says, I heard a grinding sound under my car and then something dropped. When I got out to look, I saw the brake pad pictured, which had fallen off somehow. I called them and explained everything. They said they can't help me out until Monday morning. I just wanted to know, is this just because they did not do their job correctly? Should I even go back to them and get it fixed or find somewhere else? Also, is this how a brand new brake pad is supposed to look? I've driven it. Okay, it does say 25 miles right there. I've driven it for 25 miles at most, and there's a lot of scratches and marks on both sides of it, which had me thinking they didn't even replace it. By the way, it is a new brake pad. He said, maybe I'm wrong, but I just want some advice. Craig, what's your thoughts on this one? Because to me, it's kind of crazy. Like I said before, I thought the guy was just playing around, but it does look like that really happened.
It is. It's remarkable. I've seen plenty of completely worn pads fall out of calipers in my day. I'm sure you have as well, when there's no more pad left and it is thin enough to sneak by.
Yeah.
But this one's interesting because there is marks on the rim from where the whole caliper, the bracket, was contacting it. So I'm guessing they had to leave the caliper bracket loose. I'm not entirely sure, but not only that, there was on the pad itself, you can see the imprints of where the pistons were contacting that pad. And the last picture, you can actually see that does have a fresh rotor. That outside surface isn't all torn up. So I mean, and obviously it was on the inside anyway, because that's where the piston marks are. But it's tough because you can't see the inside of the rotor as well, because they got the backing plate there that's blocking it. But if this is a troll, if it's like someone who put pads on it and decided on the test drive they didn't like them for whatever reason and took them off and slapped another set on after they've already had damage done somehow, I don't know how that would have worked out. Kind of a weird situation. But yeah, this bizarre. That's a big pad to get through a small spot.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't be covering it. The more we both looked at it and seen the damage, I think this really happened. And I'll kind of give you my thoughts. Now, to me, this is still like unbelievable because I've never seen it. And there's even a guy in the comments who said he's been doing this for 40 years and never seen anything like it. They must have messed up really bad. And by the looks of the damage, it does look like almost the caliber came up somehow. But for the pad to come out, the caliber would almost have to come all the way off, right? If it's because it's still going to hold, unless the pad just, I find it hard to, because that's a GMC. I've put brakes on those many times. The way that sits in the bracket, it's almost like the whole bracket would have had to come off. Now, if you go down into some of the comments, some of the other technicians say they have seen this and they've seen it because they got the wrong size rotor. And that kind of had me thinking, which would be very crazy to do, but did they possibly put the rear rotor on the front? I don't even know if that would, because you would have to have a very small rotor to be able to get that entire pad to drop out like that. And that the only thing I can think of is those marks ain't really the caliber bracket or the caliber. It's actually the pads. I wonder if both pads, he's only got one there, but I wonder if they kind of rode down and rode on the rim, but that it would have to be like way smaller and you can't see it through the rim.
I wonder if that Denali package got a bigger brake system.
Yeah, it definitely could have. I almost think they almost had to have wrong parts on it because
but not even there's not brake fluid leaking all over too. You think that would have been enough for the pistons to pop out at least one.
And you would think you would think so. That's why I brought this story up because I want to know from any other technicians out there who've seen this happen. The only thing I've seen in the comments have been guys that seen it happen with smaller rotors. To me, I just still find that very hard to do. Like it, and especially like that much smaller. And everybody else is just like, I think the first comment, I would love to see what that looks like with the wheel removed. That's not even supposed to be possible. And that's when I first seen this, that's what I read. I'm just like, yeah, I don't think this is real. But now the more we've looked into it, I think it definitely is real. But then he says, a couple comments says, look like the caliber bolt or pin or slide pin was left loose. Caliber rotates out and hits the wheel. Pad fell out. The way those are set up though, with the caliber on top of the bracket, that caliber is going to almost have to be totally removed. And there's not enough room in that wheel for that caliber to come all the way off. What do you think? Am I wrong?
I'm not sure because I don't know if I worked on one of those that are that new. I'm kind of used to the older Acadias and the Traverses and all that. I don't know if the brake system is different. Is it? I wonder if it's possible. I wonder if the lug pattern on these is the same as the 1500 trucks.
Yeah, they could be. I'm not too sure, but this is the most bizarre brake issue I've ever seen. The quality control, like that should have never left the shop. Technicians, if you're doing brakes, please double check everything. Compare when you take off the old rotor, compare it to the new rotor. When you're putting the pads on, make sure everything is new hardware, everything's cleaned and lubed, and take it for a good test drive and make sure something like that does not happen to the customer because that's insane. I mean, maybe something was left loose. I don't know, but I don't have really much other thoughts on that. Besides, guys, this is just an example with a driver. I'd be very upset. Like, how does that even happen? Some drivers don't even know any better. Like this guy couldn't really tell if it was a new brake pad or not, which that happens. If they don't mess with them, they don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a new pad, and it looks like it definitely fell out somehow.
Which you know what I just noticed?
Bizarre.
I just noticed something. On that pad, it says outer on it. I don't know why I didn't catch that until just now.
Yeah, it does say outer on it. Yeah, I don't know if it does have the piston marks on it. I still don't think that would matter,
No, I don't think so either.
But yeah, I don't know. Technicians, though, when I came up, they almost wouldn't let you work on brakes unless you were ASE certified to work on brakes. It was a big thing in my shop, and it should be one of the first things you should want to actually take is like brake, steering, suspension, safety related stuff because you can really kill somebody. I mean, think if that was on both sides of the front. And that's another question. Like, what happened to the other side? So as a technician, think about if you did something like that and let's say you put the back rotors on the front, which I don't think could happen. But maybe it did. And they're that much smaller and the pads fall out. of both front wheels while this guy's driving on the highway or something. I mean, that could have been catastrophic. But yeah, just I don't have really much more thoughts on it. I'm hoping to get some feedback in the comments. Guys, go check out the photos and just tell me, have you ever seen, because I know a lot of technicians and I've asked them and nobody's ever seen this happen. The only guys in the comments that have seen it happen is guys who've got the wrong size rotors. And the only thing I can think of is they put the, I mean, maybe they did get the wrong size rotor, but usually when you get the wrong size rotor, it's not that much of a difference if it's for the right axle, right? Like if you got the wrong size front, it'd be hard to take something off the front and pick up a rear rotor and put it on the front. Like it, to me, is kind of easy if there's not much of a difference. And that shouldn't have happened if there wasn't much of a difference. But if there's a huge difference that can allow the brake pad to come out of the bracket, that's insane. Like, guys, biggest tip for technicians is I do it every time because I've been burnt with wrong rotors many times, more to the point where the caliper just don't bolt up, right? The bracket don't line up. It's like hitting on, it's usually they're too wide, right? They don't fit the bracket, just don't go down far enough to bolt back up. But after that, I've checked every rotor I take off. Like if I take an old rotor off, I'm opening up the new rotor and I'm comparing it. I'm always compare your new parts to your old parts. Make sure you got the right part before you put them on. That's a pretty bad mess up. That could have been catastrophic. You got any last thoughts on that one, Craig? And we'll move on to the next one.
The only thing I'll say is I believe the piston didn't pop out, and we don't have a brake fluid leak all over the place.
Yeah, like man, I got so many questions about this one. It's bizarre for sure. Like I don't know. Maybe a technician from I mean, this happened 10 days ago. So the guy's hopefully been back and got it fixed. I haven't seen any updates, but hopefully he updates it. Hopefully a technician that might be from the store. I doubt they want to comment, but maybe we'll find out a year from now. Who knows what really happened. But yeah, to me, that's a crazy one. All right, we'll jump right into the reliability issue. Now, this is a driver, right? He's not a technician, but he's asking, what is really going on with reliability? He said, this could get long, so I'm going to keep examples brief. He said, a fellow manager at work had a brand new Chevy 6.2 liter pickup blow up before the first oil change. There are recalls on that. We've seen, actually, the first one we've seen was a stock unit with a locked up engine. That's well before the first oil change. But he says he ended up needing to upgrade. He ended up upgrading to a 2024 Ram 3500, which made it 29,000 miles before it literally burst into flames on his way to work. Electrical fire. So my dad has a 2023 F-150 that the windows and AC rarely ever worked, and Ford couldn't fix the issue, and had a 2.7 liter Silverado that needed a new transmission under 60,000 miles before that. My wife has a 2020 Honda, and you guys can see where this goes. He just goes down and goes through a ton of new vehicles that he's seeing issues with. And he's asking, he said, is the only hope EVs and older, simpler cars now? Craig, I'll go ahead and get us started on this one. To me, I kind of got mixed feelings about it.
I did too. For the first one, we both are very well what happened there. It's just a 6.2 doing a 6.2 liter thing. The 3500, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but when you start getting into those 2500 and 3500 ranges, you can't help what kind of electrical add-ons they have in form of winches and.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, like add-ons for like whatever you've got running into like a camper from a fifth wheel.
Yeah, some type of aftermarket. Yeah, I almost wanted to check for recalls on that, but I didn't.
Yeah, but as far as like reliability in general, I think we've all fallen for the trap that more modern cars don't require as much maintenance, and it's just not true. I've got a 2021 model GM product, and that thing will take me out 8,000 miles on an oil change if I allow it. And I refuse to do it. These machines can't tolerate these fluids just being in that long. I think that's what the bulk of our issues is. We can see with the oil burning issues across all brands. Friction piston rings. We've got systems that turn engine oil into hydraulic fluid to run VVT systems. We have the cylinder deletes. Just the list goes on. And we just on the engine oil side, because it's kind of the most obvious, where we just can't keep doing things that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, the question I want everybody to think about and just ask yourself, could manufacturers actually focus on and make cheap, reliable vehicles? Yeah, they could. But the other question is, would that be a good business model? Now, I'm not saying manufacturers are out there to make unreliable vehicles, but at the same time, you got to ask, like, if you, let's say they made $20,000 cheap vehicles that, made it 300,000, 400,000 miles without any issues, they're going to get less service work. You're going to stay in that vehicle, for much longer. You're not going to be buying a new car all the time. And a lot of times, even the service work, right? We see people all the time where they need an engine or transmission and then they trade out of it into something else and they're rolling over negative equity. And it's a whole thing. And I think they could. I just think, we'd see another too big to fail government bailout stuff where they're possibly going under, even though they're making a ton of money now. Now, I don't think and my thing is, I don't think they're really that unreliable. So like I see it a lot where we see all the bad stuff. This guy's does have a list of a lot of vehicles of people he knows with issues that are newer vehicles. I'll give him that. But in the dealership world, I basically only see the broken stuff. That's why I say I kind of got mixed feelings on it because they sell a ton of these vehicles and I only see the broken ones. So I know what cars are in the shop, the cars that have problems. But when you think about it, the cars we see the most are the ones they sell the most, right? And so they sell a ton of these vehicles. You're going to have, and my shoes in the dealership, I could easily look at it and say, oh, no, they're not reliable because I see them. But I'm not looking at the percentage of vehicles they actually sell that I'm seeing. So I do think they're more reliable. And I'm going to tell you why, because I have two 2015 GM vehicles. One's a 2015 Tahoe, another one's a 2015 Impala. And both of them, I got like 280,000 miles right now in the Tahoe. And the wife drives the Impala. It's probably right around 190,000 miles. And I plan on keeping them on the road until, they rust out or I have to get rid of them. Now, don't get me wrong. That's where having, a technician skill set comes in handy because, for instance, the Impala, its valve got stuck open due to carbon. And I replaced the valves, replaced timing chains, replaced a bunch of stuff I just replaced just because I was in there. Didn't really need to. And it only cost me $1,200, right? Whereas a customer at that point, you're going to get priced out tear down or a new and used engine and get multiple options. I do think vehicles, if they are well taken care of, are more reliable than they used to be. At the same time, I start thinking back to the Cavaliers and the Cobalts. I mean, those things were tanks. Same with some Saturns. Like Saturn owners would keep their cars on the road for, it seemed like forever. So my biggest tip though for people driving cars that aren't technicians, don't even really look at the reliability at this point. Look at the parts on the car, right? One of my biggest videos that like went viral on TikTok was just, I probably didn't go viral. I don't really know the definition of viral, but it's got some of the highest views. Was I had a brand new Equinox 2025 and I had the headlight out, which you got to pull the whole bumper and everything off. And I was just doing like informing customers. And I'm like, guys, realize this is a sealed beam headlight, right? If you're out of warranty, you're 3 years, 36,000's up and your headlight bulb goes out, you're not replacing it with a $20 bulb anymore, right? That's a $1,200 to $1,500 headlamp assembly plus the labor to pull the bumper. So like even when I buy cars nowadays, that's the kind of stuff I look at, right? I got HID headlights in the Impala and I really didn't even want those, but you can get those. I think we got a pretty cheap set on Amazon, right? But GM, they're like $200 a piece. I didn't even buy GM parts. I got them from Amazon and they work perfectly fine. But you got to definitely realize this because a lot of people are taking 7 to 8 year loans out on vehicles. And then once the warranty's up and they got to start paying for repairs, that can really hurt, especially when you're still making a car payment, right? You get a headlight go out and next thing you know, you're out $1,500. That's going to feel insane. And a lot of people don't really realize that. What's your thoughts on that, Craig?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've always kind of, as much as the aftermarket warranties get a bunch of flack, I've had pretty good experiences, both for myself and others, interact with people with the dealership sold warranties. I feel like as long as you buy that in-house warranty, that also can go a long way. I took advantage of it with my own GMC here a couple months ago. It needed axles, and there was no issues. They used OEM parts and everything, and it was part of it was because I got it from the dealership that sold me the car, so that helps as well.
No, I agreed. I'm glad you brought that up. Because like back in the day, I hated extended warranty companies, right? Because I'm a technician. Why do I need an extended warranty company or an extended warranty? But nowadays, I wouldn't buy a new car without one, even with being able to work on cars just for parts pricing. Like I said, that headlamp. Now I don't. You'd have to have a really good extended warranty to cover a headlamp, but yeah, it's still, you get a radio screen goes out or a radio or a control module or something of that nature, or even an engine or transmission. I mean, they do seem expensive when you buy it, and you may never need it. You may be a lucky individual that, you drive the vehicle and it's great for you until you get rid of it. But if you end up needing it, they will come in handy. I had a salesman actually asking if he should take one out. He bought a EV Blazer SS, which is pretty nice. And he was just asking me like, what's my thoughts on extended warranties? I'm like, well, if you would ask me 15 years ago, I told you no, I don't ever get an extended warranty. Like nowadays, you almost need one just for the pricing of stuff. Yeah, that's my thoughts on reliability. I don't think they're that much unreliable. You may have a bad rash of friends and people that have issues that are just like, why is this happening? It's a brand new vehicle. A lot of people got that mindset. They buy a brand new vehicle, nothing's going to happen to it. Which funny thing is, there was a technician at work. His wife bought a brand new Traverse, and I don't even think they had 1,000 miles on it. And the check engine light came on, and you had to bring it into work, but the charge air cooler hose was collapsing. It was so weak that it would just collapse and through the check engine light. But I mean, there was actually a bulletin for it, and we're just like, man, that's crazy. So that is one thing I will say. They do have a lot more plastic and stuff on cars than they used to. But no, I think if you take care of your car, you can get some mileage out of it. Just be aware of what you're actually buying, right? You don't want to buy something and next thing you know, you realize you're out $1,500 for a headlamp because you didn't even put that into the thought process buying a car. But that's my take on it. Craig, I don't know if you got any more thoughts on that one.
Absolutely. As far as the EVs being one of our only hopes, I strongly disagree with that. There's still plenty of mechanical parts to fail. They still have suspension systems and braking systems, like battery packs that can have issues. Not that it's not fixable, but it's certainly not just going to be a be-all, end-all solution.
Yeah. No, I definitely don't think EVs are the answer. And I can give you some stories on those. We've seen, so the Chevy Volt, they basically stopped making the battery for them. And we've seen a lot, I'll say a lot, but there are a lot out there that the batteries went bad and you couldn't get a battery for it. They basically, I think GM was actually buying some customers out of their vehicles that were under warranty because they just couldn't get a battery for it anymore. So as technology's changing, that's another thing to keep in mind. I usually don't buy something if it's the first year or two up. I kind of give it a little bit of time to break in. And if you really want to think about it, the manufacturers I like the most and the best models are stuff that's been around for a while, right? If it's a new engine every year, every other year, I'd be kind of hesitant to buy it. If it's an engine or something that's been around for a while, it definitely make me feel a little better about it. But yeah, I don't think EVs are the answer at all. I mean, if something goes bad with that out of warranty, like inside the battery and stuff, it's not only are parts harder to get, it's way more expensive. So yeah, only time will tell for sure.
And I don't even think the older cars is the answer either, because I've had the opportunity to work on quite a few of those postal LLV trucks that post office has, the old S10s. And the difference between modern stuff and those is you've got 2 wires controlling a solenoid on something new, and those have like 12 moving parts to do one job. It's quite ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. Yeah, they definitely seems like things are over engineered anymore, especially on that. Yeah, what you just said. I mean, nowadays, I mean, even communication issues, right? Talk about this all the time. You got 20, 30 different control modules on 10 different networks. It's getting a little out of hand with that stuff. But overall, I don't think they're getting less reliable. That's just my opinion. Please feel free to chime in. I'm sure everybody's got horror stories out there and everybody's got an opinion on this. Let us know what you think. You got anything else on that, Craig? Are you ready to get to where's the limit?
That's it for me.
All right. So this is a service advisor who sounds like he's questioning whether or not he wants to keep doing this. And he just posted this 4 days ago, and he says, "Where's the limit?" Says, "How many people here have actually walked out? Done. Today notice. I don't get paid enough to put up with this moment. I know the hustle mindset of write so many cars you think you're about to panic, then you do it again tomorrow. I want to hear legitimate stories of people that went through it. Expected to write up 30 appointments a day, 6 days a week, work as a greeter, cashier, rental, BDC, warranty admin, and still made to clean the bathrooms. Toxic, awful leadership, etc." Said, when and where was the moment the gesticular fortitude took over and you started living for yourself? He said, edited, because we all know 30 cars a month is a unicorn job that we would do scandalous things for. I don't know I don't know why he added the 30 cars a month in there, but yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts on this crap? My man, I'll let you go first on this one too.
So I've done the service advisor job for about a year. It is a rough job. The difference between the service advisor job and a salesman job, they're both kind of the same. You're there to sell a product. The difference is I think people in general are excited to go spend money on a new car because at least if their money's going out of their pocket, they're getting a nice vehicle. It's new. It's something to be excited for. And then, of course, the service department is, well, it's grudge spending. So you're just paying to keep it on the road. So as much as some of these, service leaders are always trying to paint the picture of people should be excited to come see you as a service advisor. I just don't think it works that way. It's just not the same thing. No one wants to spend money on their car. Nobody wants to have to, put a new AC and heating system in their house. It's one of those things. It's just not something that people get excited about. People want to spend money on, new cars or, new phones, electronic toys. It's just one of those things, when you deal with that all day, it's going to take a toll on you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to me, it's just not techs that's getting burned out. It's service advisors as well. And the comments are crazy on this one. And one thing I want to touch on is I think everybody is getting more of a workload. Listen to what he says. Work as a greeter. I remember days we had greeters. Cashier. They're doing away with those. You're taking payments at the counter now. Rental. You're running around getting rental cars nowadays. I did manage and run a couple dealerships that had, rental departments, but a lot of dealerships now, they don't have rental departments. They got a rental fleet and their advisors are putting customers in rentals. BDC, a lot of people get mixed up because it's really business development center, and that's supposed to be outgoing calls to get work in. If you're writing 30 appointments a day, you're not really the BDC. He's more or less talking about just answering the phones. Warranty admin. We just talked about this on our last episode with the warranty issue, where a lot of dealerships now, they don't have an in-house warranty admin anymore. They have some third-party company, and they leave it up to the advisors and the technicians to decide what's covered, what's not covered, and be a warranty admin. And those third-party companies don't even come in until later, right? Once the car's already gone, usually. And still made to clean the bathrooms. Now, I don't know if you're made to clean the bathrooms, but a lot of times, maybe the bathrooms ain't clean. Maybe nobody's cleaning the bathroom, and then the toxic, awful leadership. And looking at that's the more I think about both sides as a service advisor and a technician, more and more has been put on both, over the last couple of years. And dealers are trying to cram more cars through too, and everybody's getting burnt out.
And I wonder how much of it is trying to eliminate certain positions, because I know profit margins for dealerships are slim, like surprisingly slim.
Yeah, they're still, so they try to keep 30%, or no, I'm sorry, 70%.
Yeah. So it's like, at what point are they actually also trying to eliminate some positions they have a hard time filling anyway, to try to put more money back in writers and techs pockets? I'm not sure. It's probably doesn't work that cut and dry.
Yeah. No, when I say, man, it's been a long day already. So no, they want, as far as gross goes and like what they want to keep, they want to keep roughly 70% from what they pay technicians. And then they got other expenses on top of that. But yeah, it's definitely about cutting positions and saving money. That's, they're trying to squeak every penny they can out of the dealership, out of customers. And, that's one thing that I don't remember what podcast it was, but that's what I said. That if they would focus more on building relationships with customers and, building up their employees, giving them what they need to succeed, instead of trying to squeeze every penny out of customers and technicians and employees, you wouldn't have these types of rants in here. You wouldn't have such bad turnover rates at all these places. It's just insane.
And at what point are the turnover rates acceptable? At what point do they say, you know what, I'm okay with this as long as this all falls into the way we want it? I'm not sure about that either.
And I don't think a lot of them process the cost of turnover. Like your
No,
recruiters might, some people higher up might, but management, service management level, they're not really processing the cost of turnover. I don't even know if they think about, because some of their new employees, they'll give a 30, 60-day guarantee. They're probably not even processing that every time they do it, right? It's insane. And this is one comment. Sounds like this guy just walked out. So I had to take on the work of 3 advisors that quit. I see stuff like this. Management did not support me with new customers. BDC walked out. I had work in progress list of 270 cars. That's insane.
that is crazy.
And it sounds like this is only a 4 advisor store. Why they have that many open ROs that's crazy. I mean, it can't be that high volume with only 4 advisors, 3 left, still got him, unless more left already. I mean, stores I were running, we maybe had 5, 6 advisors, but we're doing 100 plus cars a day, but still 270 cars. That's kind of insane. That's hard to keep track of for one person. And it just did not make sense to stay anymore. So I asked for a raise and it was denied. So I walked out, took off my shirt, handed it to the director, and it was the best thing I ever did. Said, rumor is the place is still just a turnover machine. Yeah, that's sad.
So there's probably not a position in the dealership world that they talk about replacing with AI more than service advisors at the moment. And it kind of makes you wonder if this is one of the reasons that they're getting to that point. And I'm not saying I support that. It is kind of blatantly obvious.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that'll ever happen. You still need people. It's going to take a while before people come around to actually, and what they would do. So like when I left my first dealership, I was at for 19 years before I left it. And they were at the point where kiosk machines were coming out. And they were testing out kiosk machines at our BMW store. Now, they weren't replacing any advisors. They were just having one up there in case that's how a customer wanted to check in. And honestly, I hate to say this, but good advisors will know a good advisor is worth their weight in gold. Now,
Absolutely.
some bad advisors, you would have better luck with a kiosk machine. Like, honestly, you'll get better write-ups probably. You'll probably sell more stuff with a kiosk machine than a bad advisor. Bad advisors cause more problems than they actually solve.
Absolutely.
But any of these comments stick out to you, Craig? There's a couple more I was going to read, but
You brought up the one that the one you read was the one that really, spoke to me the most when I was going through them myself, actually.
Yeah, no, so just real quick. There's another one in here that I'm about to get to, but before that, I seen this one. This dude says, well, I don't know, guy or girl says, I've walked out 3 times. three different dealers, of course. The industry is horrible and they are trying to pay less and less. Ain't no way I'm staying with my skills. And that's just sad. You can make a lot of money in dealerships. And I'm not reading this to knock dealerships. I'm reading this to just kind of bring stuff to light to people that I guarantee everybody working these positions is feeling all these comments, and you can tell that's why there's so many comments. But no, man, leadership's got to get it together. And so this one is pretty interesting and good for this girl for moving up like this. But I'm assuming this girl says Princess. But it says, I spent 6 years at a dealership. I started as the warranty admin, ended up as the service director. 2 of those years I spent as an advisor, and during that time, I had so much fun. That's one thing I love about the dealership. Like the dealership world, especially, there's so much camaraderie, and everybody just, it's a fun time. Like I could tell you so many stories looking back that it's just insane. Like I really do enjoy the people. But it says the advisors watched out and helped each other. The service director was a goofball who looked out for everybody. The tech were like our big brothers, just silly shenanigans all the time. It was just a fun place to work. And we are all busy and made great money. It made dealing with the awful customers bearable. That first paragraph, like in the last episode, when I talked about the good old days, like those are the days I remember. And it's really just changed so much. And I don't think it's just me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
this is a prime example. Like she's saying stuff where I'm just like, man, that's how it was in so many places I remember. But it says, then our company bought new dealerships and expanded so fast, they plucked all the talent for promotions if the person could relocate, which was cool for them, but it was the beginning of the end. So I transferred to parts, then was the parts manager. Then when they saw the new service director ran the department into the ground, I took on the job and it was awful, an absolute shell of what it used to be. And the higher I moved up, the more I realized the CEO and corporate were just complete. She calls them jack donkeys, basically. You can get the point. We went through 8 GMs in 6 years. That's insane. The department was so horrible and corporate wanted me to immediately turn it around. And when I couldn't do it in a couple months, they brought in somebody else that wanted me to go back to parts. And that's kind of how it is. Like when they throw you in the position like that, they don't see what you're seeing. Like you see a mess that's going to take a while to clean up. You know, stuff don't just change overnight and happen overnight. It's bringing in the right people, training them properly, getting the right processes in play. All that stuff takes time. And then it says, the next guy did worse than me, and about a year later, they laid off everybody and closed the dealership. That's insane. Says, I'll sell my soul before I work in another dealership again. Laughing. Like that's so, to me, that comment, it hit on so many levels because I remember those days where it was just like, it was such a blast. And, then you see the harshness and then you see the aftermath, right? They actually shut the dealership down. That's insane.
For it to get that bad, it's mind boggling.
Yeah, and their whole goal was expanding and buying dealerships, and look what happened. They shut one. They had to shut one down. Like, yeah, I don't know. I definitely feel like I've said in the previous podcast, this industry has just went too hard at just getting as much money as possible out of customers, out of technicians, out of service advisors, employees, instead of building relationships. Like the industry could be exactly what her first paragraph said. Like that could be the industry again. And, unfortunately, I think a lot of us who's been in the dealership world for that long, they can probably relate to that entire post.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've heard before people say, the car industry used to be ran by car people and now it no longer is. It's being ran by people in suits. And I think that's absolutely true. And this is a prime example.
No, I think you are. I think you're correct on that. Because when you think back, a lot of the big dealerships, they were started by the founder, right? They was basically started it from nothing. And they were, those guys were in the trenches with the people working the day to day. And then just as they expand and get so much focused on the money and expanding so fast, they lose sight of it. And they put people in places that shouldn't be in places. They're looking at numbers instead of people. And it just, that her entire post just lines up perfectly with what has happened over the last 10, 15 years, probably. It's insane. But no, yeah, good point on that one. Craig, you got anything else on this one or anything else going on?
Yeah, I've worked for a couple of the dealerships I worked for. It was just like you said, the person who founded the dealership built it from scratch along with the people there. And that's how, and they knew that person knew all their employees' names and talk to them almost every day. And then, yeah, it gets too big or that person retires and once big corporate money gets its hands on whatever it is, it doesn't seem like it ever really improves.
No, it doesn't. To me, it's sad for the industry. Like I said, I still love the industry. I mean, that's why we're doing what we're doing. That's why we're having this podcast. That's why I've, built a nation and AI tools and stuff like that. Because I want to give back what I can to the industry. But to me, like I've said many times, it starts with management. The buck stops with management. And you got to understand, there's people that fill all these posts in here. Like it's insane. I mean, right now, this was posted 4 days ago. It's got 47 comments. And they're all very relatable. And of people who's actually walked out. And so this one right here, this is a tech. It says, as a tech, many of us are ready at a moment's notice to walk out. That's insane because most techs are like they're at the breaking point. I've seen a lot walk out lately from techs to advisors but he says it's part of the lifestyle for us. We want that dream shop that pays high, sells good, and treats us right. But if we need to, we can lock our box and not say a word. So I always have a shop in my back pocket that have already offered me a job if needed in a pinch. And that's the thing with skilled advisors or technicians, it's easy to find a job. And that's because they're at such high demand, they're in such high demand and you wonder why. It's because places like a lot of these dealerships in here aren't treating their people right. They're overworked, they're overloaded, and they're all ready to walk out in a moment's notice. Anything you got going on, Craig? I've said all I can about that. I mean, we could go back through more, but
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've got all my input in.
all right. Well, everybody, please don't forget to subscribe, hit like, drop your comments on your thoughts on all these stories, and check out The Nation. We'll be posting all the links in the description. You can find Craig on LinkedIn. You guys have a good one out there.
See y'all.